Lavender Corretta contains mature themes. All videos are kept unage restricted so that the information provided is free to all, regardless of age or demographic. However, viewer discretion is advised. So, I've been thinking, this whole sex education angle is great and all, but sometimes it can feel kind of pointless. What do I mean by that? Well, we've covered a lot of medical topics, a lot of stuff about dicks especially, like way too many videos focusing on that specific organ. The whole point of this is for me to learn more about it, and for you to learn along with me. But the future of sex has been thrown into chaos, like everything else in this world. What will the future of intimacy look like? It's honestly hard to say. If AI is a bubble, it's probably gonna pop soon, and it's gonna drag the economy down with it. Even if it is a bubble, AI will forever exist in some form, whether that's in the form of actual robots, or just a dead internet advertising to itself. Because I think we can all agree, okay, mini rant on AI, just for a few seconds. If everything's AI, if the only product we can think of to incorporate AI into is advertisements, who are they going to advertise to? That's so expensive. It does not make any sense. How many more ads can you feasibly shove to every single platform? I don't know. Okay. In any future scenario, it's going to be very different from where we are today. And because of that, I think we can all agree on the fact that sex will be different, even if it's only slightly. Today's landscape of sex is pretty complex. You obviously have the standard spectrum of sexuality. You have free internet porn, at least for now. You've got Rule 34, some groups that are against the idea of a comprehensive sex education and an exploration of one's sexuality. You know, being bisexual, stuff like that. There are some groups that are against all that because it's different from how I grew up. And they believe that sex is something that should be vanilla because it's only good for the mechanical purpose, reproduction. I'm simplifying, but this viewpoint is typically held by religious people. So normally, they believe that it should only be mechanical and you shouldn't have fun because fun leads to evil, like this is Star Wars or something. Okay. On the other side, you have people like me, people who see a future where everyone could be more comfortable around the topic of intimacy. Sure, there are some people on our side that we really try and cut off from our side, you know, like the freaking Maps people, like they try and implant themselves into the Pride community. Ew, no. Too far. There is a happy medium. We see a future problem where people are so distrusting of each other that intimacy itself, that's not a word. We see a future where people don't trust each other so much that intimacy itself kind of collapses. Right now, you have these huge divides between the sexes, as well as economic issues, driving a lack of intimacy in general. And as a counter to that force, a greater individual exploration of sexuality could breathe a bit of life into that scenario. The decline of intimacy is one of the reasons I think we should strive to be more comfortable around this topic, the topic of sex in our culture, because it's only going to get worse, and being more comfortable around the topic itself will help to alleviate some of that. Because if you don't believe sex is a big thing in our society, buddy, I don't know what planet you're on. Sex is everywhere. It's in our marketing. The beauty industry is literally based on sex appeal. The idea that you need to be this level of sexy to be good. I haven't made a lot of videos on the beauty industry, but I actually really don't like it. A lot of my views seem to be very counterproductive. I'm not totally against porn, but I hate the beauty industry. There's a web of untangling that I need to do in my brain. But sex is also the foundation of a lot of our humor. I'd say like at least 60% of my day-to-day humor is based on something sex-related. Dick jokes, that's what she said, it's everywhere. And as much as we try to sanitize our media and our communications to be kid-friendly, the reality is our biological drives will always force this topic into every corner of human existence. Because it is ultimately the thing that drives us. Reproduction is our strongest drive. It's baked into everything. Our children and our grandchildren will have to exist in a world where the subtle idea of sex is even more prevalent than it is today. Hot chocolate. I started drinking London Fogs and just black tea in general, as opposed to hot chocolate. It's decent, but I need to get it to be sweeter. A lot of people like to relegate sex to its base, its mechanical purpose. Sex should be done as vanilla as possible. Missionary only. Maybe have fun with it while you're young, but you shouldn't continue to find new ways to have fun, they say. That's basically an acceptance of the fact that you have to be content with something boring. For what? Why? It's pushing the idea that you only grow up through your 20s, and then wherever you are, you have to be there forever. It's weird for someone older to want to continue developing these skills. I believe that you can continue to grow in these things. It's allowed to happen. And forget just old people. Somebody like, men who don't typically take the time to get good at these things. Well, you always hear people complaining about men aren't good at these things. So why not? It shouldn't be weird for us to just want to make someone else happier. Growing in these areas, like sex, doesn't mean throwing away your agency and giving into every animalistic desire. The two are often conflated, and that's probably why people don't want men to really develop this side of themselves, because their idea of sex is animalistic desire, and their view of men is already animalistic desire. He can't control himself, and they think that sex is the biggest driver of that. But just because I want to develop the sexual side of myself doesn't mean I'm going to grow up to become perverted. Perversion only happens because that exploration is messy, and there are no support structures for people who wish to do that. No signs that say, hey, there's a landmine here, don't step on it. That landmine being a crippling porn addiction. Perversion only happens because this side of ourselves, of men especially, is so forgotten about. And that's really what we're missing in modern sex. But this video is about the future of sex. I've just described how sex exists today, but that's going to be immensely different 5 to 10 years down the line. If you ask me, the attempt to restrict and mute our impulses is only going to backfire. I've used the priest analogy hundreds of times, you've probably heard it. But basically, we've seen for hundreds of years of recorded history that when you try to suppress the masses in this area, in our most core function, which is reproduction, it only makes it stronger and more dangerous and more weird. A priest is told to suppress his sexuality and his desire to procreate. And I don't mean keep it in his pants, I mean to entirely ignore that side of himself. To take half of his humanity and say, it can't exist, it's evil. But what this misses is the fact that sexual processes aren't controlled solely by us. Some are natural. Erections, wet dreams, where we land on the spectrum. A priest can't help it if he's gay, but something like that being thrown in with, you're not allowed to have sex, that's gonna be so confusing. Why do you think this stuff happens so much? There are parts of our sexuality that we can't control. I mean, we can control ourselves, but we can't. Someone doesn't choose to be gay, right? That doesn't happen. When we ignore these parts of ourselves, we lose control. And that's how these crimes happen. And that's why I don't understand why people think that we need to keep doing this. No matter what we try to do in the future to suppress it, it's only going to be more prevalent. If you ask me, the next step the world is going to try to take is to ban pornography. Full stop. There's a lot of panic in world governments right now. A lot of panic for a lot of things. But there's a specific panic about the cratering of the population. The lack of marriages and child having is being pinned mostly on things like porn, and in some sense, yes, I believe it is. Porn is used as a replacement for intimacy by most people who watch it. But, like prohibition, banning the substance instead of regulating it will only make people turn to dark web sites. Just like prohibition made people turn to making gin in their bathtubs and getting sick from it. You know, no one from the government is listening to this, but if you are, no lawmaker, if you really want to get people to stop watching porn, make it mainstream. I know it sounds weird, but when you make something mainstream and regulate it, it starts to become a little more boring and a little more predictable, and people will stop doing it, stop doing the worst stuff. Just like with anything else, when you guys get your hands on it, it becomes lame. Can you imagine government approved pornography? What would that even look like? I drove you to the White House, but I don't have any money for the drive. That's okay. Get fucked with taxes. A porn ban is likely on its way, and I think it's just gonna make the problem so much worse. Just wait until these politicians hear about hentai and Rule 34, if they haven't already, secretly. Imagine trying to explain what hentai is and like culture shocking someone who has never watched porn before. That would be crazy. Banning porn websites won't do much to stop the creation of things like hentai and Rule 34. How so? Well, a porn website is needed to write, cast, produce, and host live-action porn. A porn studio is needed, really. That's what I meant to say. But animated porn can be created by an individual and shared through various means, especially if it's a photo as opposed to a video, like a drawing. Even if both Pornhub and the main Rule 34 website get banned, people will still be able to access hentai and Rule 34 pretty easily. And that is why I predict a huge shift to these categories if bans start to happen. If porn bans actually happen here in the US, in the UK, and wherever, hentai and Rule 34 are gonna skyrocket, so invest in those, I guess. More stocks. Maybe people would even start making their own porn like I do. More people being introduced to sex that is even more unrealistic. I haven't made the video yet, really. Well, I kind of touched on it in the first Rule 34 video, but there is an argument to be made whether or not hentai is better or worse for you mentally than normal porn. It's certainly more ethical because you're not using real people, unless you have an underage voice actress, but you're not filming anyone underage. For now, I really believe these categories are only going to get bigger. But you came here to hear about AI porn, right? The potential is right there. I've already seen a lot of it. Not by choice, I'm not searching for AI porn. It's just naturally appeared alongside other search results. It's not useful for me because, again, I save a lot of hentai to use as references for drawing. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, I do that a lot. I just did it last night. It was so much fun. Guys, I can't wait to have my next drawing to put on Patreon because I've gotten so much better at it. I've really nailed down how I want to do my line art, my coloring, my shading. It's not super detailed, but it's gonna look very me. And I can't wait for you guys to see it. The safer work stuff. I'm not showing you my porn. AI-generated anatomy is going to be wrong a lot of the time, so what's the point of me using it for a reference? One thing I've noticed is that AI is actually particularly bad at simulating semen. The real stuff is more liquid. Yeah, it's sort of sticky, but not really. But AI-generated cum right now behaves more like glue. Like a rat trap. It's so weird. People using AI to generate their own porn is a decent concept on the face of it. I can definitely see it. Every time you boot up the hub, it's this grand adventure of finding that one video that's gonna get you off, right? I would say most of the time, I go onto the hub without having a specific category in mind, kind of like how people used to go to the movies without knowing what they were gonna see. They just watched whatever was out. They didn't plan ahead of time. But with AI, you need to be the one prompting the AI model. Give me 10 results for Gumball's mom, hot. So the shame is going to be worse because you need to more often ask for it directly. Imagine you ask for something like, ooh, BBC blah blah blah, and the AI goes, ugh, again? Think of something more original. Or maybe the AI will be our personal servants and it studies our interests to serve us something it knows we're gonna love. Maybe it works like that, I don't know. But I think it'd be funny for you to have to ask it directly every single time, and it starts to be like, ugh, stop. Actually, this train of thought is presenting a very interesting question to me. Are there certain angles, proportions of people, or other aspects of your standard porn video that's common to everyone? Like beyond the, everyone likes the big boobs and the big butts and, well, most people do, whatever. There's an argument that the bigger you like your assets, the less intelligent you are. And if that's true, then I'm fucking stupid. Like, I know exactly what kind of thing would get me off. That's why I'm able to draw my own stuff. But I wonder if my perfect angle, I know which angles just really hit for me. I wonder if that angle is the same as your perfect angle. Do we agree on if this is the perfect part of the video? If an AI model studied all of humanity, would it just start mass producing porn of the exact same type? Are we that agreeable when it comes to our tastes in porn? Because it's determined that that's what gets you off the fastest, in a mathematical sense, it's just gonna keep serving it to you. I mean, sometimes porn is really about the build-up to the moment, not the moment itself. Do you think the AI would actually understand that? We'd have to teach it that it's more about the journey, not the destination. Deepfakes. Those are going to be a huge problem very soon. It happened a little while ago where celebrities like Taylor Swift and ScarJo, I think, had their likenesses stolen by an AI model, and they were used to generate deepfake porn. Like, the company got caught doing it, I think, or allowing it to happen. I don't remember the exact details, but I believe it went the typical route. They studied their facial data and they applied it to a blank face model. Digital likenesses are being patented and owned for the rest of eternity. So what happens when Disney owns Harrison Ford's face and people start using it to generate a bunch of Han Solo x Chewie porn? Are they gonna sue? I think they're already trying to with like Mickey Mouse and whatever. People are going to argue that it's just an artistic representation. They didn't literally steal his face, they just perfectly reconstructed it using a tool. Like if someone painted Harrison Ford with a paintbrush and Disney sued them for it. I wonder how they would handle that. But if AI porn and deepfakes aren't crazy enough, you could go one step further into VR porn with haptic sensors. This would in all likelihood be the most immersive kind of pornography. Generate any character in any situation, and they can have sex with you.
Computer, generate 80-foot tall version of Daisy Ridley circa 2019 with a full bladder. Generate lawn chair and a set of goggles. Increase my olfactory sense by 5,000%.
You can even program the AI to learn what you like, and predict certain positions to do. Gumball's mom is going to be getting into that exact right angle. This might be the singularity for human intimacy. If this happens, literally having children becomes something you're hired to do. You're given a grant by the government to grow the population by having one child. Something crazy like that could happen, because with VR porn, the possibilities are genuinely endless. Sort of. If this happens, and we start having porn and start having sex in VR, would they put stops in so you couldn't generate minors, or animals, or anything we consider to be immoral? Conservative extremists would probably try to make it so that a man user couldn't generate another man in these scenarios. How would that work? And how would the haptic side of it work? Haptic just refers to touch and touch sensations. Would you be wearing a suit? Would you have like a brain implant that simulates those sensations? A more ethical use of VR porn is a long-distance relationship where a couple can copulate virtually. Would there be a rise in therapy sessions where one of them says, I'm attracted to your virtual body more than your real body? Healthcare professionals might actually encourage the use of VR, as it's a no-risk way of having sex. Unless you're still touching each other in the real world, but you're just wearing the headset. Maybe your flesh bodies are still touching, but you're changing just the visual side. You're seeing them as the anthro wolf or whatever. I would guess that would happen before we delve into haptic suits and all this. I think you're still having sex in person, but you're seeing them a different way. And I would say this, the VR porn, whatever, that's more likely than sex robots, actually. They're trying to achieve the same goal, but one is going to be significantly cheaper with more range for diversity. A sex robot is an expensive piece of hardware, and it can't adapt to your changing interests. Not very easily, at least. A virtual humanoid should be able to change their appearance based on whatever you're feeling that day. Do you think that they would restrict the technology to people over 18? You'd certainly hope so. Instead of kids going out and finding buried porn magazines, you'd have kids sneaking into their parents' room while they're out of town to use their VR equipment. VR pornography would be so much more damaging to a young person's mind than just watching a video. And I just thought of something. Technosexuals. I made the joke earlier like, oh, I'm more attracted to your virtual persona than I am you. But there 100% would be people who say they're exclusively attracted to virtual avatars. I don't think they're going to be accepted into the wider, marginalized community though, because for someone who's gay or trans, you can certainly say, I was born like this, it's not a choice. But for technosexuals, no one is born attracted to things that didn't exist 10 years ago. That's just not an argument. But they would probably argue that that doesn't matter, and then you'd spend an entire generation changing the conversation. I wonder if Jared Leto Aries is a technosexual. Maybe instead of complete virtual worlds, we invent brain chips that alter our perception of reality. I can install a device in my head that makes my wife look like Toriel all the time. and she would install something to make me look 6 feet tall. Morally, we are so beyond fucked at this point. The only point of inventing something like this would be because people would 100% buy it. Just imagine the Marquez Brownlee video. I tested this brain chip that allows me to have sex with anyone. I need a volunteer. He'd probably give it 2 stars and tank the company. Clearly, there's a lot of possibilities on the horizon. Predicting which one will come true is basically impossible, but if I had to put money on it, I'd say that we develop VR porn powered by AI. AI has to be in there somewhere. They've sunk enough money into it so far that they're desperate to use it for anything on this point. It would be a VR headset that shows you a virtual humanoid and they have sex with you. You'll have certain patches on your body, or maybe just a suit that simulates the sensations of sex. Maybe it's just like a super advanced fleshlight. It's just part of the system. You have the VR headset and the fleshlight on your dick. And part of the simulation is simulating the touching and the wetness level and the pressure. And that's what I think the future of sex is gonna look like. I didn't have an outro planned. Still drinking my hot chocolate. It's kind of cold now, but I don't know. What do you think we're gonna have in the future? Do you agree with me that VR porn is the next step? Or do you think we're gonna go some other route? There's a lot of possibilities. So yeah, that was it from me. I don't know if I'm gonna keep making the lavender candles video. I've been having more fun just making these kind of off the cuff, loosely scripted Lavender Corretta videos. And I do want to go back to just making sex ed content, I think. Maybe I'll do the occasional main channel video, but I don't know. My videos started doing well when I was just doing sex ed stuff. Not that they have to do well anymore. I'm not trying to make a whole bunch of money on it, but if you guys enjoy the sex stuff more, and if it's more helpful and more original, then I'd like to do more of it. So, yeah. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. That's all for today. My name is Candles. I love you all. Good night.